Well, we're here. You're very fortunate to be able to attend this presentation. I have been an examiner for 20 years and retired this year. My PhD is in general engineering and professional engineer's license. The interesting thing that developed in the past year was that I also had the chance to present this exact slideshow in a journal article form. And I'm not sure if I will be able to use the mouse to point, but the important part is it's going to be in a Wiley Handbook for the workplace. So this is exciting that meditation now is becoming more and more acceptable in the workplace and also in schools. And I'll explain that as we go along. The book is called Modern Meditation, Science and Shortcuts, and that's available on Amazon and other distributors. This presentation's been given at the Patent Office for years. Here's some of the posters that describe the presentations even as old as 1998 back in Crystal City. And I've also found the receptive audiences throughout the DC area as well as across the country. The important part is that meditation now is becoming so generic that it's accepted in places that perhaps were not even anticipated years ago. When I started as a teenager, somehow I was attracted to meditation literally as a 16-year-old. 1967, I bought the Yoga for Americans, and then 10 years later attended the first yoga conference in Chicago. And it's a good experience because as we find, the history of meditation can be traced back to 1923 when Yogananda started filling auditoriums to the maximum occupation. And he was the first Swami to come from India to packed auditoriums teaching meditation. And that's the book that describes his adventures. And then 40 years later, in 1963, some of us remember the Maharishi movement that also involved some musicians called the Beatles and also actresses. In this case, Mia Farrow is in the picture. So the Maharishi and the transcendental meditation that came out of it movement really had an impact to scientifically validate the effects of meditation. Until the transcendental meditation movement started being tested, there really wasn't any way to describe or understand the effect of that. And of course, I have no way to turn off or answer that phone. Anyways, and the EV people are gone. So hopefully this will go to answering machine. The benefits are on the screen. You can read them. This is a popular magazine describing the various benefits, including the longevity benefits and the health benefits, and reducing stress. But more specifically, the most recent results, which have been published in journals, include the following. Dramatic 23% reduction in all causes leading to death, thickening the prefrontal cortex, which I find as a senior citizen to be very important, and also more gray matter, lower blood pressure, prolonging your life. That's something I probably mentioned previously. And the most recent is the change in gene expression that specifically promotes good health. Now, this is a genetic change that you literally will experience as you practice every day. So hopefully this will motivate you to be involved in a daily practice. And one of the first articles that I came across that I felt was very encompassing, comprehensive, was the Time magazine article from 2006, January 16. And this is a summary of everything that was in that one-page article. The title, How to Get Smarter One Breath at a Time, portrayed a stockbroker who used meditation. And there's this inset showing him meditating. And what was interesting is the quotations from Dr. Lazar, Dr. Davidson, Dr. O'Hara, specifically regarding attention, psychomotor vigilance, and also the companies that at that time, 10 years ago, were teaching meditation at their workers, and also the one-liners regulating emotion, helps people get along, improving productivity, reducing stress-related illnesses, and even absenteeism. Now here we introduce Dr. Sarah Lazar from Harvard and her research that specifically relates to the thickness of the cortex. Now this is a very, I feel, very substantial development in the evaluation of meditation. And as you see at the bottom, the description that it's not necessarily new neurons, but wider blood cells, more supporting structure, and increased branching and connections. And her phrase is that you exercise while you meditate. And that's a good thing to keep in mind, because you might be accused of just sitting there. And this is a more recent summary of her presentation, her research. And specifically, this is interesting because she gave a TED Talk, the technology, entertainment, design talks, which are very limited in time. And so I have an excerpt of that on the next slide. And what's interesting is that she's proven physically that meditation can grow your stronger brain, developed brain, and thickness of cortex. And if you can't see the details on the side, let's listen to what she has to say.
So the first study we did, we recruited a bunch of people from the Boston area, and these were not monks or meditation teachers. These were just average Joes who, on average, practice meditation about 30 or 40 minutes a day. And we put them in the scanner, and we compared them to a group of people who are demographically matched, but who don't meditate. And what we found is this, that there were indeed several regions of the brain that had more gray matter in the meditators compared to the controls. One of the regions I'm going to point out to you is here in the front of the brain. It's an area that's important for working memory and executive decision-making. And what was interesting about it was when we actually plotted the data versus their ages. So here in the red squares, that's the controls. And this is something you see actually, it's been well documented that as we get older, not just there, but across most of our cortex, it actually shrinks as we get older. And this is part of the reason why as we get older, it's harder to figure things out and to remember things. And what was interesting was that in this one region, the 50-year-old meditators had the same amount of cortex as the 25-year-olds, suggesting that meditation practice may actually slow down or prevent the natural age-related decline in cortical structure.
Now, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what else can.
Does it reverse it?
Exactly. That's literally what she's saying, because this was an 8-week trial of even older people. And I'm glad you asked that question, does it reverse it? Because literally that's another phrase I've seen in the literature. So what you'll learn today is 3 basic exercises. Breathing exercise, number 1, affirmation exercise, number 2, and a visualization exercise, number 3, that accentuates and adds more dynamism to the practice. And then I usually throw in this power meditation technique that's a quick and easy one to do on the run. Now, what's the main reason you're not meditating every day right now? Well, the popular magazine Self says only 13% of their readers meditate, but 2/3 wish they were. And their reasons for not meditating is I don't know how, I have no time, and I can't sit still. So maybe this is one of your excuses as well. Now, another motivator is the research that was done at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. 150 participants, 8 weeks of meditation. They missed 76% less work days. And this was in a couple journals as well. Meditation boosts genes that promote good health. Dr. Benson is well known for literally doing the first research back in the 70s on meditation. And he's the one that actually introduced the mantra called ONE, O-N-E, as a very generic word to repeat to show that there was no esoteric underlining factors that were necessary. Now, this is the latest research he did just a couple of years ago, taking samples of blood before and after meditating for 10 to 20 minutes. And what he found was that the samples afterwards showed a prevention of telomere shortening, which is what the lady just asked about. Will it reverse these effects on your body and mind? Preventing aging, beneficial genes that become more active, improved efficiency of mitochondria, which is your energy producer, boosted insulin production for the control of blood sugar, And what I found was intriguing, this N-kappa beta master gene becomes less active. And that's known in genetics to trigger inflammation, blood pressure, increase heart disease, and so forth. And this is how quickly your genetic profile changes and the gene expression changes. Here's an example of some of the early 1970s research that was done by the Transcendental Meditation University at that time. Maharishi University, I believe, was the sponsor of it. And they found the deep rest and brainwave orderliness. Well, the brainwave orderliness graph, when you blow it up, it's called a waterfall graph. And what you see is a white line that's kind of irregular on the side there with a black background on the left side of the slide. And what that is showing is the predominant resonant frequency of the brain that continues throughout the entire meditation practice. So your brain literally starts resonating at a fundamental frequency, much like a laser, which I found really cool because I'm a physicist. And their diagram, this is the only diagram in Maharishi's original book, Science of Being, Art of Living. And it's a good instructional diagram because at the top you see what's called, he calls a thought bubble. And if you picture this as being the surface of water like the ocean, the water waves would basically be the restlessness or the uneasiness that you feel normally as you're distracted by thoughts constantly. And as you meditate, you literally are following one thought bubble down to its source. And the good visualization, one of them, is to picture that you're going below the surface. Literally below the surface of the water, letting the thoughts still go on the surface, and you're way down where it's nice and peaceful and quiet. And you're going to the source of the thought, which is a nice visualization and also very helpful physiologically to detach yourself from the distractions that you might feel, especially as you start meditating. When you start meditating, you'll have some good experiences for a few weeks, and then you'll start to get distracted by all the things you should have been doing and so forth. And you'll hear a recording that refers to that. But it's good to persevere because this is the benefits of perseverance. Now, this is also an interesting sideline, and that is whenever I give this to schools, and I'm hoping to do this more because now David Lynch Foundation is funding the introduction of TM to literally entire schools, entire high schools. And this is as close as Annapolis, Maryland, showing the effects, improving grades and also their less detention as well. The kids literally get along better, and the proof is they have less detention. And a book was written about it. So TM makes the grade. And here's the details about what they call quiet time. Why isn't the patent office offering quiet time to the examiners? Well, they sort of do. You're supposed to have a 15-minute break in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon. And I see somebody shaking their heads already. Well, legally, you're entitled to that. So you can enforce it and ask to EEO to help you enforce it. And the important part is, instead of ringing a bell in the high school, you can ring a bell in your own desk and say, now it's a quiet time, and let your watch or your cell phone announce that quiet time is starting. But this is an interesting effect because look at all the research. Look at all these journals that have proven the benefits of having quiet time. It's voluntary. They do whatever they want when they close their eyes for 15 minutes. But the nice thing is the benefits improved, doubled English proficiency, doubled. This is not pharmaceutical stuff where you get 10% this and lots of side effects that are negative. These are all positive and they're huge. And that's what you find constantly. 98% grades dramatically improved. I mean, this is overwhelming statistics, and that's what I want to impress you with as well, because I know you're all scientifically minded, as I am. Now, as we progress in age, sometimes it's helpful to have your brain working at optimum capacity, and that's where this book called Brain Longevity comes in. Dr. Khalsa includes in the book lots of nutrients that you can add to your nutritional diet to aid in mental clarity and gene overall efficiency for your memory and thinking process. And the interesting thing is that he also describes the benefits of meditation. This is also available on an audiobook. So I bought both of them, and the audiobook has a segment about meditation, and that's what we're about to hear right now.
I taught some of my patients to meditate and found that it boosted their health tremendously. A few years later, I discovered that meditation also helped healthy people to achieve optimal cognitive function. I found this out when I began to teach a course to doctors studying for their oral board exams. I showed all of them how to meditate, and it gave most of them as big a lift as it had given me. As I mentioned earlier, the doctors taking my course had over a 90% pass rate compared to the national average of about 50%.
And here, once again, we have a dramatic statistical result from just learning a very passive, very innocent technique, as your rational mind might think, almost doing nothing. But you're exercising while you meditate. I have to emphasize. And look at the decrease and increase columns that are right from his book. Increase in health span, lifespan, hearing, vision, youthfulness. I mean, these are results that you wouldn't even expect from such a simple practice. And a quote from his book, which I thought was interesting to share with you, is his question, is meditation powerful enough? Well, he answers that question by this quotation about older patients that he had. And this is a medical doctor talking about trying to teach meditation to older people. And what he found was they tend to put it off because they think it's too exotic. But then when they finally decided to practice, they literally said it took them to a new level. That's literally a quote from his patients. And I suggest to you that you can also use your meditation ability once you start practicing and feel relying upon it for sleep replacement. When you basically can't sleep in the middle of the night, that's time to sit up and meditate. And how long you meditate depends on how long you need to relieve yourself of whatever anxiety or distraction that you're feeling while you're trying to sleep. But I guarantee that if you take that break in the middle of the night, you can go back to sleep and you'll have wonderful dreams and you'll literally sleep through the rest of the night. The other nice thing too, which I've experienced, is the red-eye plane. You can meditate instead of trying to sleep, and basically I've already experienced that and been able to work an entire day afterwards. I'm not making up that loss. Okay, now we arrive at the first exercise. And the good thing about this is very simple. What I invite you to do is to sit up straight, and we basically call this 10-10-10 breathing. The process is very simple, but we're doing this very slowly. We're inhaling to a count of 10, holding for a count of 10, and exhaling for a count of 10. So let's begin 3 times. Inhale. Hold for 10. And exhale for a count of 10. Inhale for a count of 10. Hold. Exhale for a count of 10. And if you need a visual aid, you can also use your arm, as the yoga teacher taught me. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. And now just observe internally how you feel after just doing 3 deep breaths like that. You're preparing your body physiologically for a state of rest, a state of meditative peace. And what's exciting is that it's a simple physiological interruption of your autonomic nervous system, because breathing is normally unconscious. And all of a sudden you've taken conscious control over it, and you've also dismissed a lot of distracting thoughts. So I feel this is a very vital initial state to get yourself into by taking a couple seconds just to do this 10-10-10 breathing. Okay, let me describe a few more popular results of meditation. Excuse me. It's been in Time Magazine, Scientific American, New York Times, Yoga Journal, of course. And the Scientific American cover story, just a couple years ago, 2014, was on the neuroscience of meditation. And it was by a chemist who actually also studied meditation with the Dalai Lama. So this is becoming more and more scientific, and the fact that Time Magazine and Scientific American have popularized and published this information is very good. Now, the New York Times article, How to Meditate, I thought was very innovative, because if you go to the website, it's still available for free, and they have animated guides to meditating, about 3 or 4 little animations. And that's another new development. And of course, the results, the quotations from the top, all of these results are in the 21st century. That's the other exciting thing. This is all recent developments that have elevated meditation to a higher plane of acceptance. And as we go to the next slide, Norman Vincent Peale, doctor, is going to explain his view from 50 years ago about meditation.
Everyone should insist upon at least 15 minutes of absolute silence every day. Go alone into the most quiet place available and sit or lie down. Do not talk, do not write, do not read. Think as little as possible. Conceive of your mind as the surface of a body of water, and see how nearly quiet you can make it, so that there is not a ripple. When you have attained a quiescent state, then begin to listen for the deeper sounds of harmony and beauty and of God that are to be found in the essence of silence. At intervals during the day, practice thinking a carefully selected series of peaceful thoughts. Let mental pictures of the most peaceful scenes you have ever witnessed pass across your mind. You might, for example, see a beautiful valley filled with the hush of evening time as the shadows lengthen and the sun sinks behind the horizon. Or you could recall the silvery light of the moon falling upon rippling waters, or the sea washing gently upon soft shores of sand. Serene images like these will work upon your mind as a healing medicine. You might also practice the technique of repeating beautiful words out loud. Words have profound suggestive power, and there is healing in the very saying of them. Utter a series of panicky words, and your mind will immediately go into a mild state of nervousness. You will perhaps feel a sinking in the pit of your stomach that soon affects your entire body. If, on the contrary, you speak peaceful, quieting words, your mind will react in a peaceful manner. Use such words as tranquility. Repeat the word slowly several times. Tranquility is one of the most beautiful and melodic of all English words, and the mere saying of it tends to induce a tranquil state.
This is from his book, Power of Positive Thinking, which was a bestseller in the 1950s. And what's interesting, the backdrop here is a picture of the BWI meditation room in the airport, which is probably the most beautiful one I found. A lot of airports have meditation rooms. And this particular slide also refers to the fact that meditation is very compatible with religion. If you have a religious practice, it's good to combine it with meditation. You'll enhance your results. And as this one spiritualized meditation study proves, you can withstand pain better. So it's also helpful in terms of extending your life, but also making a conscious transition at the end of your life. And your physiological state was actually deeper than deep sleep. So that's why, for example, my wife experienced in the hospital 20 beats per minute, which caused the cardiac group to come in with the paddles. And she said, "Oh, I was just meditating." So we've also proven in our own life that you literally get to such a low physiological state that it explains why you actually can extend your physiological performance. Some of the suggestions that we have here are watching the breath as you use your affirmation or mantra. And the explanation of that will be on the next slide. But we also suggest that you can let the heart and breath become imperceptible. That can be some concern as you meditate, that all of a sudden you may think you're not breathing or something, but just let that go because your body knows how to take care of itself. Focus on the mantra, let thoughts go by, as we explained, over the surface above you or apart from you. And also an advanced suggestion is to retreat to the spine and brain. If you picture yourself withdrawing like a turtle, literally to the spine and brain only, you'll detach yourself from sensory input, and you'll be able to meditate even to more advanced states as well. And some of the feedback that you will receive, because I've received all of these, and anybody who meditates does, is a tingling in the center of your forehead that becomes more pronounced as the years go by, light or lights in the field of view, even with your eyes closed, and inspirational thoughts about things that you are problematically trying to evolve, and improved intuition and synchronicities. And the last two I think are very valuable, because I know, being an examiner, I found constantly I'd be at a point where I couldn't decide what to do. My rational mind was literally drawn to the limit, and I would remind myself that's the time to meditate. And I remind you as well, suggest, when you're at the end of your rope, time to meditate. And as you sit 5-10 minutes, that's all you need to do, and do your practice. Do the actual practice that we're teaching you today. All of a sudden, you'll have an inspirational thought that comes out of nowhere. And it's better than any of your thinking, conscious, knowledgeable left brain could have come up with. The other nice thing is you'll start to experience the magical bumping into somebody that you needed to talk to literally at the right moment. And it's kind of cool when it starts happening. So you know you're sort of into a more advanced state of harmonizing with your environment. Next is a medical doctor who has a series of health-related audio lectures. And this particular one, she explains what mantras are.
This is a technique called mantra repetition. Mantras have been extensively studied. They offer an easy way to stop what is called monkey mind. And if you have never heard the expression of monkey mind is when we go from thought to thought to thought to thought, the way a monkey jumps from branch to branch to branch to branch. Grocery list, shopping list, husband, spouse, partner, kids, pick up the kids from school. You know how the mind goes. Oh, plus I'll worry about things that happened in the past, and I'll really worry about everything that happens in the future. We can't turn it off. Now, a mantra is a sacred word, a chant or a sound that is repeated over and over again. The goal of the mantra is to cultivate inner peace. It could be the repetition of a word like shalom or Rama, and there are many others from every spiritual tradition. So if you have a spiritual tradition, you might want to find a word that can become your mantra. The word mantra, in its most literal sense, means to free from the mind.
And that's the goal of meditation. It's a fourth state of consciousness, where sleeping, dreaming, and rational thinking and awake is the other three. She also talks about heart rate variability, which is very valuable for avoiding heart attacks. So your heart is able to handle stress and increase speed when it needs to, so that it's very flexible. And this is also available, the entire series we listened to in the car as we were traveling, Science of Natural Healing, highly recommended from the great courses, if you're interested. Now we get to the second one, as Dr. Gonari indicated, to choose your mantra. And I found, which I thought was gratifying, that I'm using the same technique that she does for her patients. Here's a list of mantras, pick one. Across the top are single word mantras. Some of them we've already talked about. Dr. Peel's, for example, is up there, Dr. Benson's. So the phraseology mantras are below, And I invite you right now, pick one that you're attracted to and say it 3 times mentally and memorize it. So everyone should pick your own personal mantra that you want and then stay with it for at least 30 days. And you notice that some of the mantras are actually affirmations, and that's why I use this term interchangeably. Everyone have a word or a phrase that they like? Okay. In the University of Kentucky, Dr. Bruce O'Hara tried a very extreme test of meditation. He deprived students of sleep all night. And then in the morning, he allowed some of them to take 15-minute naps or 15-minute meditations. And he found that every single student who meditated showed improvement. Meditation makes you perform better. And it was the only intervention that immediately led to superior performance. And he tested them literally after 15 minutes of either a nap or meditation. And this was done just 10 years ago. Now, exercise number 3 is an invitation to observe some of the recommendations that Dr. Peel and others have mentioned to you, that a picture or a scene that you already associate with peacefulness is good to accentuate your meditation practice. So you add that to the practice once you start. So that's why I call it exercise number 3, because I'd like you to also find and remember and sort of tell yourself, yes, that's the image I want to go to, or that's the image I want to include in my meditation practice. So either a tree or water, a surface, those are 2 suggested common ones that are very beneficial. I like the spine of the trunk of a tree, so therefore the tree is a good image for me. But obviously, a water surface that's very calm is also very good. And there's plenty of other ones, and you probably have experiences that you remember from vacation time, for example. That's a good place to go mentally. So, and the good thing about it is that it increases your strength, immune system, and it creates more conscious safety and calmness and protection and health. And this is a reminder of the 2 major visualizations that you might want to choose from. Dr. Weil, Andrew Weil, is famous for lots of his books and presentations. He's been on TV a lot, and he also meditates as well. Now, in terms of the more advanced problems that elderly people have, I'm happy to share with you the fact that meditation does seem to drain amyloid beta plaque through the spinal fluid as you meditate. And this has been directly associated with Alzheimer's disease. So this is another benefit that has been recently defined through research. And of course, it also has been found that research meditators can focus attention, concentrate better, and also develop more purposeful action. And now on the next slide, which is the final audio segment, this is from a book called The Secret. And it was very popular a few years ago, but Rhonda Byrne has a segment regarding meditation.
One way to master your mind is to learn to quiet your mind. Without exception, every teacher in this book uses meditation as a daily practice. It wasn't until I discovered The Secret that I realized how powerful meditation can be. Meditation quiets your mind, helps you control your thoughts, and revitalizes your body. The great news is that you don't have to set aside hours to meditate. Just 3 to 10 minutes a day to begin with can be incredibly powerful for gaining control over your thoughts. To become aware of your thoughts, you can also set the intention, I am the master of my thoughts. Say it often, meditate on it, and as you hold to that intention, by the law of attraction, you must become that. You are now receiving the knowledge that will enable you to create the most magnificent version of you. The possibility of that version of you already exists on the frequency of the most magnificent version of you. Decide what you want to be, do, and have. Think the thoughts of it. Emit the frequency, and your vision will become your life.
So everyone that she interviewed meditates. So that shows you there. Okay, now we've reached the final exercise where we combine the first three. And so I invite you to sit up with your eyes closed, and let's begin our breathing exercise that we learned, our 10-10-10 breathing. So let's start with inhale for a count of 10, hold for a count of 10, exhale for a count of 10, inhale, hold, exhale. And if you need to visually, you can inhale, hold, exhale. And now recall your affirmation that you picked. And now as we begin our 5 minutes of meditation, literally exactly timed to be 5 minutes, what we'd like to do is repeat your mantra with your breath. In other words, every time you exhale, you'll be saying your mantra. And slowly introduce your visualization as you do so. And we'll literally try only 5 minutes. Now, as we end our meditation practice, you might want to take a deep breath to help you become more conscious of your room and surroundings, and slowly return to opening your eyes when you're ready. And just as after the breathing exercise, you might notice that you feel a little bit different, but 5 minutes of meditation, I think you might agree, has a more profound effect. And this is interesting to newcomers because oftentimes you'll see that you might feel sleepy as well. And this is a conflicting state of mind that I have to remind you of, because as we meditate, if you let your eyes go downward, in other words, below the horizontal, you'll go into a sleep state. You might even start bending forward with your head. So it's good to be against a flat chair, and also don't recline, but literally sitting straight up. But the other important thing is try to look up in your visual field, because that's your prefrontal cortex, and that's where you want to concentrate as you meditate. It'll make a whole different experience for you, and also prevent the sleep state from distracting you. Now, we also ask the question sometimes, where can I meditate? And also, are muscle strong men also meditating? Well, yes. And these are suggestions. You can have a meditation room at home. You might consider the bus or subway. I used to meditate in the subway all the time, from Greenbelt all the way to Alexandria. And no matter what the distractions, I was determined to meditate. So office cubicles are very good meditation caves. And in emergencies, your restroom stall is the best place to retreat to if you have to. Right before a meeting, for example, and too many distractions, too many people around you. Living room, bedroom, those types of places. Now, the last question I can offer you is how long you should meditate. And Dr. Ricard, he is the molecular biologist who authored the Scientific American article I referred to earlier, #1 best-selling book on the art of meditation, says 20 minutes a day, you get the reduction of anxiety, stress, anger tendencies, and depression. But if you once in a while extend it to 30 minutes, then you get the extra immune system benefits and the ability to concentrate and speed up healing. And he, actually, Dalai Lama met with the past couple of presidents. Now, we also have a handout key that if you didn't pick one up, the card is something you might want to keep with you. So you have a reminder of the 3 steps for meditation. And as far as the power meditation technique I told you about, the technique is very simple. It's literally doing one of the 10-10-10 breathings. But you'd only have to hold it for 3 seconds. But you can do this while you're driving. You can do it just before you go to a meeting. And what's interesting is, as you're busy doing physiological things, if you take a second to do this power meditation, you're literally inhaling, concentrating with your eyes closed in your prefrontal area, 3 seconds, and then exhaling slowly. And what you do is you're holding your breath for 3 seconds or more, and the nice thing is you're dilating your blood vessels of the brain. So the benefit is immediate, and you'll find that you're a little bit more mentally capable as people like to be in the workplace. And also, if you're interested, the URL for the audio, the slideshow with audio tracks is online. And for further information, you can consider the book, as well as there's a yoga book at the bottom here, Science of Yoga, for advanced people that are interested in more details of the yoga science behind it. And I see one question from online. If you have any questions in the room, you can also ask at this time. If you fall asleep, will that be harmful? Well, no. You won't get as many benefits, but falling asleep is certainly a possibility as you meditate. And some people, literally, one of the suggestions, I took meditation, TM meditation, back in 1972. So I'm familiar with that one, as well as the other practices that extended. The interesting thing is the advice from meditative trainers is that if you're really that sleepy, go take a nap first. And then your meditation will be very conscious, and you'll still get the distraction of sleepiness out of the way. And another question is, would it be possible to have a copy of the slide deck or recording posted in the session? Well, actually, the slide show is on the Learning Center. So if any of you or friends of yours are interested, the Learning Center literally has a narrated slideshow, almost the same as this. In fact, I'm going to stop there to update them as well, with the narrated version of this. So you can also gain it there. And the previous slide, as I pointed out, also has the URL, the tinyurl.com/modmed2015. So you can watch that. Yes?
Meditate every day for 10 to 20 minutes. Do you have advice on when and how to step up from just starting to
Right. The best, the question is how do we ramp up to 10 or 20 minutes a day? The best suggestion from the experts is that start with 5 minutes a day, so you literally establish the practice and the habit at a particular time. And give yourself that quiet time, whether it's like we do the first thing in the morning, we get out, do some stretches and yoga exercises just for like 1 minute, and then sit to meditate before we literally take showers or exercise or go on our day. But you might find the middle of the afternoon as another good place. But the 5 minutes for initially for at least the first few weeks is good. And then see if you can extend it to 10 minutes if you feel comfortable. Once in a while, I'll tell you, you feel so rewarded by the meditation practice that you want to sit there longer. And I remember coming home from work for literally a year after I learned meditation, and I would meditate for an hour before I'd even have dinner. Because at least I had an empty stomach and I was very motivated to get work out of my mind. So, but gradually increasing 5, 10, up to 20 minutes a day is great. And morning and night is the advanced state that you'll find is also helpful too. But once a day is the best, and I would say mandatory. Any other questions? And I think there might be, let's see, one more here. How fast should I count the 10, 10, 10? Counting 1 to 10 in 3 seconds seems really fast. Makes it difficult to relax the mind. That's a good question. The 10, 10, 10 breathing is really personal. So if you tend to count fast as I do, then that's good. But if you count slowly, that's even better. So to answer the online question, how fast should I count in the 10, 10, 10 breathing? It's as fast as you feel comfortable. What if you can't hold your breath for 10 seconds, 10, 10, 10 breathing? I'm really struggling to make that long. Well, this is the opposite question. And for this person asking that they can't hold the breath for that long, I would say shorten it. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's good enough, because at least you're interrupting your autonomic breathing mechanism, and that's the purpose of that practice, really. Okay, we got one more here. Breathing is easy on an empty stomach, and hence meditation is better. It looks like somebody's answering their own question. Great.
I've taken a number of different kinds of yoga over the years, and yoga usually is preparing your body for the meditation, but in one of them, Kundalini yoga that was offered here for a while, and Sat are now left. But the meditation, that he did, it was in increments of 7 minutes, so 7 or 21 or whatever. And very often, the meditation that you would do, it wasn't just thoughts, but he had you, with your eyes closed, but doing something with your body while you were doing it.
Yes.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on physical movements as opposed to sitting still, or.
That's a good question, the physical movements versus sitting. Actually, I'm reminded to also include in that question the oftentimes practice of yoga teachers to put on some soft music as well. And all of those are distractions. Because if you really want to meditate into a stillness, which is really the goal, then the least distractions are better. And I know, for example, there are a lot of yoga teachers who give Westerners a superficial version because they just think all Westerners are too restless. I've heard that expression in the past. Even Carl Jung described a preference for racial bias, so to speak. But the important part is, as the last slide points out, if you would look at the advanced literature, which I recommend, the Science of Yoga by Tamny, it's the best translation of the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali. And he gives, he's a biochemist who wrote the book. So he gives very scientific discussions of each sutra. And of course, that's the Eightfold Path.
What do you mean by sutra?
Well, the sutras of Patanjali, which is an advanced practice showing the ancient art of the steps of yoga, involve the yama and niyama, which I don't need to explain because they're just rules of do's and don'ts. But the third step in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is asana, where you're doing stretching, different hatha yoga, for example, at the fitness center. And once your body is relaxed from doing some stretching, which I do recommend on my handout card, if you're familiar with at least doing a couple stretches, it helps a lot. Beyond that, though, is the practice of pranayama. And that's where the Kundalini Yoga perhaps is dominating, because pranayama is a forceful breathing exercise. And that's also very good because it can force spinal energies to start becoming active. But the rest of this Eightfold Path involves meditation. Pratyahara, withdrawing to your center, which is why I'm offering the retreat to the spine and brain. And that's literally the best visualization of that pratyahara. And then the dharana dhyana samadhi is a threefold practice of concentration, meditation, and what they call samadhi, as the blissful state. And all of you will experience that blissful state in small increments as you practice. And it becomes more rewarding the longer you practice. So there you go. There's a summary of the Eightfold Path that is the ancient tradition that this modern meditation is based on. So least distractions possible. And if you have a quiet place, hopefully your office room or cubicle is quiet. But now you know all the techniques to make sure that you're able to do it daily. Any other questions? I have a few free copies of my book. If you're interested, you're welcome to pick one up on the way out. Thank you for attending. Good luck in your work.